now live from Lilongwe. Thanks a lot for speaking to us here on Focus on Africa, Mr. President. Congratulations are in order, but it seems you've walked right into a political storm. A lot of people in your country complaining about your cabinet. It's being called a cabinet of cronies, a cabinet of old individuals. You've got a married couple in there, a couple of siblings. You've got ex-in-laws serving, and nearly half of the cabinet is from the central region, your political stronghold. And these, of course, are things you complained about from the government of ex-President Mutharika.
I'm glad to have this chance to speak with you, Peter. When I came up with the list of names, you know, marital status was not even an issue. Religion was not even an issue. And these other issues that people are raising were never considered. We just wanted to look at merit. We are the largest party as MCP. However, we also know that we have a Tonse alliance that we had gone into agreement with, and trying to balance political as well as other issues led to that. But I have listened, and I'm listening to the concerns that have been raised. In fact, today, I had a chance to meet with the civil society groups, and we discussed all of these things, and we truly believe that with the common understanding, we can forge ahead, not to lose track of that which we intend to do.
Mr. President, does that mean that you'll be making changes to this cabinet? Because let me just quote Danwood Chirawa. He's a Malawian academic professor at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. He says, the electorate voted for change, but this new cabinet lacks novelty. It is uninspiring, if not disappointing. He actually calls it an incestuous cabinet. As a man of God, do you know what that means?
I know I have an idea what he means, but he is also not looking at several factors of the youth in it, the women in it, the various groups from the north to the south that are part of that. I think what they have zeroed in on is one or two things that we are discussing with civil society groups and all Malawians. And we will face these things, and I'll be addressing the nation tomorrow. And I will pretty much tackle everything, because I said I'll be a listening president as a servant. I want to do exactly that.
Now, let's just move away from that a bit now. We've got a lot of ground to cover. On the day of your inauguration a few days ago, you gave a rather rousing speech that impressed a lot of people, both within Malawi and outside Malawi. You called for an end to nepotism, you call for an end to corruption, an end to the dependency on foreign aid. If I can take a direct quote from that inauguration speech, you said, before we can begin to rebuild, we must clear the rubble of corruption, for it has left our taxes in ruins. Let's start with that point, corruption. Will you be going after the past government of Peter Mutharika, and does this include Mr. Mutharika himself?
I'll tell you what, Peter, what I intend to do is strengthen governing institutions or governance institutions. I personally will not be going after anybody at all, but I want to make sure that those who broke the law must face the law, but we must do it in a manner in which no witch-hunting is done, except to the extent that people must understand we want to be a people that respect the law. Some of the values that I have been espousing, in fact, across the whole country, touch on rule of law. And so we do not want to victimize anybody at all, but we do want to make sure that we follow up on all of the things that have happened in order that Malawians must have confidence that together we can build, but we cannot build on rubble.
Well, you cannot build on rubble and you want to fight corruption, but I mean, your new cabinet raised eyebrows. I mean, one of your strongest allies now is the former President Joyce Banda. In 2014, you asked for her to be probed. Now, her son holds a senior position in your government. Do you see where a lot of people say, well, this is not the same man who talked about fighting corruption?
No, they must do the necessary thing, and probing has to continue to happen. You must delink individuals from those that are responsible. And this is one of the things that we must understand, that in as much as we have corporate responsibility, individuals must also be held responsible and cannot be judged by proxy.
But do you understand the fact, why a lot of people are now skeptical, are now saying, well, you seem to be going back on the promises that you made pre and post elections with the actions that you've carried out in the last couple of days?
I do seem to understand, and that's why we have entered into discussion, because we need to understand each other, and we need to understand the political fluidity that Malawi right now has, in order for us as Tonse Alliance, following a Tonse philosophy, so that we can deliver. And delivering has to have certain benchmarks, and people that can deliver must be measured on that scale, whether they've been able to do it or they haven't been able to do it.
Now, the economy is another area where you need to get a grip on, and you've attributed the country's donor dependency to laziness and asked Malawians to have the courage to face and endure the coming pain if they want to enjoy the wholeness of a nation. How do you plan to achieve this?
Some of the values that I espouse, regard hard work, a work ethic that will mean that nobody just sits there expecting that they will receive something or somebody owes them something.
I mean, it must be said that Malawians are truly hardworking people already.
Yes, they are. But there has been a laxity in terms of those that have looked at others getting rich without any hard work, and therefore people folding their arms and saying, maybe they got something. And it is that corrupt culture, that culture of entitlement. And that is what we need to fight in order for all of us now, not just work hard, work smart, yes, but a lot of young people have so much potential, and they need to avail themselves so that we can together build a new country.
And when they do avail themselves, I mean, it is also the job of the government to, provide jobs for youth who are actually hankering for these jobs. But, in terms of job creation, in terms of, growing the economy, what are your solid on-the-ground plans?
Precisely. You're right. And these young people, we have actually promised 1 million new jobs. We have promised to help them with new businesses, and small scale to medium enterprises must have the financial backing in order for them to do that. We intend to make agriculture not just subsistence kind, food production, yes, food security, yes, but produce more and add value more, so that we have industry which employs many of them, but adds value to that which we can export. And this country will create such jobs. We will empower women. We have said we want 1 million women as well, in order that everyone should feel like I have something to start with. And that will help them lift themselves out of the abject poverty that is displeasing.
We have quite a bit of ground to cover in the short time that we have here for this discussion, Mr. President. Let's discuss the COVID-19 pandemic. Malawi has so far recorded low numbers of confirmed cases. Some have attributed this to, the low level of testing. But you yourself admitted last Saturday, and you said, Malawi, we have a situation. How bad do you think the situation is, and how are you going to handle this?
Not having sufficient testing kits and centers where everybody could and can be tested, it is truly, something that becomes a challenge. What we're going with are the figures that I was given and the graphs that I saw. And what I saw, I didn't like because the numbers were spiking all of a sudden. And so I said we have to take some tough decision in order for us to begin curbing this. And with the world helping, the African Union and friends that we have and partners that are saying, let's do this together, we believe that we can provide PPEs, personal protective equipment to our health workers and other workers that are at the forefront of this fight. And then we can also produce en masse masks that we should be able to make available to people. Chiefs in the villages are complaining because they cannot access masks, and soap and water become difficult to come by because of the fact that we do not have running water. And so we want to make sure that we reduce taxes on soaps and sanitizers and things like this, apart from those that are being donated. We also want to make sure that monies that are given to COVID-19 are well accounted for. And I'll be establishing a clearinghouse with a coordinator rather than just a committee that meets once in a while, so that we can have something well coordinated as we fight COVID-19.
But on a personal level, Mr. President Chakwera, do you feel any regret that during your campaigns earlier this year, you did not ask your supporters who came out in large numbers to support you to socially distance themselves and protect themselves from COVID-19? Some say simply because you were looking for votes.
No, we did stress certain of such messages. We did provide certain of such facilities. But I can tell you what, people wanted this political question settled no matter what. And we want to go back to the people now, and that now that this is settled, let us all agree that we're facing a problem, and let's together fight that problem until it is no longer a challenge that makes everything come to a standstill.
And very quickly, if you would, Mr. President, we've gone through a whole lot of topics here during this discussion. What's the top thing on your inbox?
I want to make sure that together Malawians understand the values that I'm pursuing, and that we also understand that as quickly as possible, we must put in place modalities for making sure that people will have fertilizer and that people can access financial backing for whatever it is they want to do, and that we should endeavor to unify this country in a way that everybody will feel proud to be Malawian, and that we truly stick to the rule of law. And these deliverables, as well as the values that we pursue, should guide us so that we should never be sidetracked by incidents where one or two things have not gone right, but that together we can find a solution to such things. And that is what really is in my inbox right now.
Mr. President, we seem to be losing that line just at the right time, but thank you for appearing here on Focus on Africa. Thank you. We do appreciate it. Thank you. All the best.
What a pleasure. Thank you so much, Peter.
You're watching Focus on Africa from BBC World.